All right, so we're diving deep into good to great. You ready to uncover what makes companies truly exceptional?
Absolutely. I'm excited to break it down.
This book really got me thinking. It's not just about being good, it's about understanding that leap to greatness, and that whole hedgehog concept really grabbed my attention.
Yeah, the hedgehog concept is such a memorable analogy, right?
Totally. So, how do we even apply this fox and hedgehog thing to the business world?
So picture this, the fox, clever, cunning, always trying new tricks, but the hedgehog, simple defense, curls up into a ball and the fox just can't win.
Okay, makes sense. But how's that work in a business setting?
It's about finding that one thing your company can be the absolute best in the world at, not just good, mind you, the best.
So, not just we make shoes, but we are the undisputed champions of, let's say, running shoes for marathoners.
Exactly. It's about owning that niche and not just being good at it. You got to be passionate about it too.
Passion's huge. I totally agree. But passion alone doesn't pay the bills. How does good to great tackle that side of the equation?
That's where the third piece of the hedgehog puzzle comes in, identifying your key economic indicator. What's that one metric that truly reflects your financial success?
I see. So it's about finding that sweet spot where your passion, your unique skill set, and yes, the economics all align.
Exactly. It's not about chasing trends or copying what your competitors are doing. It's about looking inward and uncovering what makes your company truly unique.
This is where things get really interesting for me. It's so easy to get caught up in what everyone else is doing, but the companies that truly stand the test of time, they resist that urge.
It's about having the discipline to stay focused on your hedgehog concept, even when the next shiny object comes along.
Which happens constantly, by the way. But this whole idea of the hedgehog concept got me thinking about another big takeaway from the book, the flywheel effect.
Oh, the flywheel effect. I love that analogy.
It's like we often see these overnight success stories, but good to great pulls back the curtain and shows it's rarely that simple, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's rarely about some big splashy move. It's about consistency, disciplined effort applied over time.
So more like a marathon than a sprint.
Exactly. Think of a giant flywheel. At first, it takes a ton of effort just to get it to budge. But as you keep pushing consistently in the right direction, it starts spinning faster and faster, building momentum until, bam, you hit a breakthrough.
Okay, I need an example. A real-world flywheel story. Hit me.
How about Nucor Steel? Back in the 60s, they were practically staring down bankruptcy, facing intense competition from foreign steelmakers.
So what did they do? Did they, like, completely reinvent themselves?
They doubled down on what they did best, mini mills. This method of steel production was more efficient, more cost-effective. It aligned perfectly with their hedgehog concept.
Instead of chasing every new trend, they stuck to their guns. Impressive.
And they didn't just stick with it for a year or two. We're talking almost 2 decades of pushing that flywheel consistently.
2 decades. That's some serious commitment. But I bet it paid off in the end.
Oh, it did big time. Nucor became the most profitable steel company in the U.S. They outperformed the stock market by a factor of 5. Talk about a testament to the power of consistency.
Wow, 5 times the market return. That's incredible. It really makes you think, what's your company's flywheel, and are you pushing it consistently in the right direction?
That's the million-dollar question.
Nucor's story is a fantastic example of staying focused, but it makes you wonder, how does technology factor into all of this?
It's such a relevant question, right? Because these days, it's easy to feel like you have to jump on every new tech trend or you'll be left behind.
Absolutely, especially with all the buzzwords flying around, AI, blockchain, the metaverse. I mean, where do you even begin?
It can feel overwhelming, for sure.
Yeah.
But good to great really shifted my perspective on this. Instead of seeing technology as the driving force, successful companies use it as a tool, an accelerator.
I like that, an accelerator.
It's about aligning technology with your hedgehog concept, not the other way around.
So before you even look at a new technology, you ask yourself, will this help us become even better at what we're already passionate about?
Exactly. If it doesn't align with your hedgehog, it's just a distraction. Might be tempting to chase the hype, but good to great companies, they either ignore it or they're very strategic about how they implement it.
This reminds me of that great anecdote in the book about Walgreens versus drugstore.com. Back in the dot-com boom, talk about a classic David versus Goliath situation.
Oh, I remember that one so well. Drugstore.com was all about being the online pharmacy of the future, and everyone thought brick-and-mortar stores like Walgreens were done for.
Right, the pressure must have been immense to abandon their traditional model and go all in on e-commerce.
But Walgreens, they stuck to their hedgehog concept, convenience and customer focus.
They looked at the internet, and instead of freaking out, they asked, how can we use this to enhance what we're already doing?
Exactly. They didn't try to become something that they weren't. They doubled down on their existing strengths.
And that's how Walgreens.com was born. They used technology to make it even easier for customers to get their prescriptions filled, order refills, print photos.
It was a brilliant strategic move. Meanwhile, drugstore.com, so focused on being purely online, they lost sight of the customer experience and, well, the rest of the story.
It's a powerful reminder that technology itself isn't the answer. It's about how you leverage it to support your overall strategy.
Couldn't agree more. And speaking of strategy, we can't forget about the people who bring it all to life, the leaders.
Every great company has those exceptional individuals who steer the ship, but good to great offers a really intriguing perspective on what sets those leaders apart.
It's not always what you'd expect, right? We often picture charismatic, larger-than-life figures.
Right, the Steve Jobs archetype.
Exactly. But the book introduces this concept of level 5 leaders, and they're a different breed altogether.
So what makes them so different?
These leaders are incredibly ambitious, but their ambition is directed outward toward the company's success, not their own personal gain.
It's not about ego or building a personal brand for them.
Not at all. They're driven by a deep commitment to building something that will outlast them. They measure success by the legacy they leave behind, not by stock prices or personal accolades.
The book uses Darwin Smith of Kimberly-Clark as a prime example of this quiet yet incredibly effective leader.
Exactly. Smith led Kimberly-Clark to incredible success, but he did it with remarkable humility. He actually preferred to stay out of the spotlight.
Can you imagine a CEO today saying, "I never stopped trying to become qualified for the job"? It's such a powerful example of humility and a stark contrast to the stereotypical image of a high-powered executive.
It really challenges our assumptions about what true leadership looks like.
Then there's the contrasting example of Stanley Galt of Rubbermaid, a brilliant operator, but known for being quite controlling.
It's like he treated Rubbermaid like his own personal domain, and while that kind of approach might work in the short term, it's rarely sustainable.
And that's exactly what happened when Galt left Rubbermaid. There was no one ready to fill his shoes, no one had been empowered to lead, and the company suffered because of it.
It's a cautionary tale about the importance of building a strong leadership pipeline, not just focusing on one dominant figure at the top.
And speaking of building a strong organization, we have to talk about surrounding yourself with the right people. I mean, even with the best leader and a crystal clear hedgehog concept, you won't get far without a talented and dedicated team.
Good to get. Is crystal clear on this point, get the right people on the bus even before you figured out the exact route.
So it's about finding your A-team first and trusting them to help navigate the path to greatness.
Precisely. The book argues that a team of brilliant and dedicated individuals will always find a way, even when the path isn't perfectly clear from the start.
Wells Fargo is a perfect example of this during the massive deregulation of the banking industry. They prioritized getting the right people on board even before they knew exactly what the future held.
It was a time of immense uncertainty, but they knew that a team of A players could adapt and thrive regardless of the challenges.
Instead of fixating on specific skills, they looked for those fundamental character traits: integrity, a strong work ethic, intelligence.
The qualities that can't be taught, you either have them or you don't.
And those qualities proved to be essential in navigating the turbulent waters of deregulation. Wells Fargo not only survived, they thrived, all thanks to having the right people on the bus.
It's a powerful reminder that building a winning team is about more than just skills. It's about finding individuals with the character and resilience to weather any storm.
But let's be real, sometimes despite our best efforts, we end up with the wrong people on the bus, and those situations can be tough to navigate.
Absolutely. It's one of the most challenging aspects of leadership, but good to great doesn't shy away from this difficult topic.
So how do those good to great companies handle those situations where they realize they've got the wrong person on the team?
They address them head on, and they don't wait around hoping things will magically resolve themselves.
So it's about acknowledging the uncomfortable truth and taking swift action.
Exactly. The longer you wait to address a wrong person situation, the more it can fester and damage the entire team dynamic.
It's like a little crack in the foundation. If you ignore it long enough, it can bring the whole house down.
And that's the last thing you want when you're trying to build something great.
It's tough admitting you've got the wrong person on the team. But it sounds like good to great really emphasizes facing those uncomfortable truths.
It's not about dwelling on mistakes, it's about learning from them and taking action. And the book highlights this incredible concept called the Stockdale Paradox.
The Stockdale Paradox, now that's a name that sticks with you. What's the story behind it?
It's named after Admiral Jim Stockdale, a Vietnam War POW who endured years of brutal captivity.
I can't even imagine what he went through. How does his experience relate to business, though?
Well, even in the most horrific conditions, Stockdale never lost faith that he would eventually be freed.
Hmm.
But, and this is key, he never succumbed to naive optimism either.
So he acknowledged the harsh reality of his situation.
Absolutely, he faced the brutal facts head on. But here's the paradox. He simultaneously maintained an unwavering belief that he would overcome it.
That's incredible to hold both of those ideas at the same time, the brutal reality and the unwavering faith.
Exactly. And that's the Stockdale paradox in a nutshell. And when you think about it, it's incredibly relevant to business.
Absolutely. You have to be able to see the challenges, the brutal facts of your situation without letting them paralyze you.
Right. It's about confronting those challenges head on while maintaining the belief that you can and will overcome them. And the book gives this great example of Kimberly Clark and Scott Paper.
Oh, yeah. Both of them facing the intimidating prospect of Procter & Gamble entering their market.
Exactly. So here you have these two industry giants facing the same threat, but their reactions were completely different.
How so?
Kimberly Clark, they saw P&G's entry as a challenge, an opportunity to step up their game.
So they embraced the competition.
Exactly. They faced the brutal facts, but they didn't let it derail them. They used it as fuel to become even better.
And Scott Paper.
They took the opposite approach. They saw P&G as this insurmountable threat, and they basically panicked.
Instead of rising to the challenge, they retreated.
Exactly. They lost sight of their core business, their hedgehog, and tried to diversify into other markets. It was a classic case of losing faith, and ultimately it didn't end well for them.
It's a sobering reminder that even in the face of adversity, you have to hold on to that belief that you can and will find a way to succeed.
Absolutely, and it's not just about individual mindset. It's about creating a culture where that kind of resilience can thrive.
So how do those good to great companies foster that kind of environment, that culture of honest dialogue?
It starts with leadership. Those leaders, they don't surround themselves with yes men. They encourage debate. They want to hear different perspectives, even dissenting opinions.
Because they understand that healthy conflict can actually lead to better decisions.
Exactly. It's about creating a space where people feel safe to speak their minds, to challenge the status quo, and to bring new ideas to the table.
And that takes us back to this idea of disciplined action. You can have the best ideas, the most talented team, but if you don't execute, nothing happens.
Couldn't agree more. Good to Great emphasizes this idea of a culture of disciplined thought and disciplined action.
It's not about being rigid, but about having the focus and the commitment to see your vision through.
Right, and it's about sweating the small stuff, too. Remember the Wells Fargo example?
Oh yeah, their legendary focus on efficiency.
Exactly. They understood that even those small details, when aligned with their hedgehog concept, could add up to a significant competitive advantage. It's that unwavering commitment to excellence in all things.
This has been such an insightful conversation. We've covered so much ground, from defining your hedgehog concept to building a culture of disciplined action and confronting uncomfortable truths.
It's a testament to the enduring power of good to great. These are timeless principles that are just as relevant today as they were decades ago.
Absolutely. And for anyone listening who's ready to take their company or even just themselves from good to great, this book offers a powerful roadmap for success.
It all starts with asking yourself that fundamental question. What's your hedgehog? What are you uniquely positioned to excel at?
That's a powerful question. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into good to great. We hope you found it as insightful and inspiring as we did. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving for greatness.